Hey guys, welcome back to another video. In this video, I'm giving you guys a spoiler-free review of Denis Villeneuve's newest movie, Dune. Paul Atreides is a brilliant and gifted young man born into a great destiny beyond his understanding, and he must travel to the most dangerous planet in the universe to ensure the future of his family and his people. As malevolent forces explode into conflict over the planet's exclusive supply of the most precious resource in existence, only those who can conquer their own fears will survive. I'm gonna be honest, before I get into this review, I have not read the novel yet. You guys can see the novel up here. I'm gonna start reading the part 1 of the movie. The pages that are in part 1, I'll be reading that, and then after part 2 comes out, I'll finish up the books. I don't want part 2 spoiled for me, and I'm gonna be honest, if you haven't already read the book, don't try and read it before the movie comes out. I'm gonna be honest, I don't think you should. There are a lot of the character moments and just like surprising moments that obviously you'll know if you read the book, and so I thought it was much better as a theater first experience, and then I'll get to read it in the book. That's just me personally. Nevertheless, overall, I think this movie is great. I think it's phenomenal. I don't think it's perfect, but I think it sets up for part 2 to be absolutely magnificent, perfect, beautiful, precious, 10 out of 10. Also, to get into it, I don't have any notes on this video. I'm just talking out of my thoughts for this movie because I will be doing a spoiler review this weekend. So be on the lookout for that and subscribe so you don't miss that. But nevertheless, this movie was epic. Like I said before, it was a phenomenal movie. I'll say it met my expectations. It didn't surpass them by any means, but it met my expectations. My expectations were fairly grounded too. All I expected was for this movie to be a setup for a part 2. I know a lot of people are going into this movie, number 1, for Timothée Chalamet. That's, you know, we'll let the reason slide. But number 2 was to have an action sci-fi blockbuster. That's not necessarily what this movie was. There were 2 big blockbuster action sequences. There was one action sequence that was like, okay, that would be like a side fight in a massive blockbuster. But most of the movie was dialogue, and that's really what I did enjoy. If you don't like dialogue-driven movies, information-heavy movies, I don't think you'll like this one, but you need to watch this one because the next one, I promise, will be a massive blockbuster type of movie. I feel like the next one will have more action because this one set it up so well. One gripe I've been seeing a lot about with this movie is Paul Atreides' arc. Now, I'll say, as knowing slightly about Paul Atreides' character in the book, again, I haven't read it, but I know about his character, how he loves the people around him and stuff like that. It didn't necessarily feel like that in this movie. It didn't necessarily feel like he was selfless towards his family. It felt like he was a little bit more selfish, and it felt like he only cared about 1 or 2 characters, and he was kind of forced to like one character because he spends a lot of time with that character. So there's a lot of times in this movie where, from what I know about the book character, it doesn't really resemble it as well. Again, I haven't seen the original Dune movie, so I'm not really going to compare it to that one. But yeah, overall, I did think Paul Atreides' character arc was actually great. A lot of people were complaining about it. I thought that by the end of the movie, it had a solid arc for not even telling the full story. We're only halfway through the story. We're in part 1 of 2, and we already have had somewhat of an arc for Paul Atreides. And so when we see what is to come in the future, when we see that there is a part 2 coming, hopefully, and that makes me really excited because what they did with just this one story alone, with an arc of Paul, with the arc of his side characters, it's just really cool to see that this is going to be happening in the future. There's something that this all leads to, and we're not even halfway through it, and we already have such a great arc for this character. Speaking about characters, I thought overall the cast was great. My favorite performance in this entire movie was Rebecca Ferguson. She plays Timothée Chalamet's character's mother. I forgot her name, but yeah, she's basically Paul Atreides' mother. She has like her own like backstory that's super important in the beginning of the movie. Her character, and number 1, her performance is absolutely phenomenal. Timothée Chalamet was also great in this movie. I kind of wanted his character to do a little bit more though, just because he was the main character, so I felt like he was going to have more of an impact. Obviously, the main story revolves around him 100%, but I don't know. He didn't really wow me with this performance, with the amount of screen time he got. Rebecca Ferguson got a lot of screen time, but I think she used it better in terms of just an overall performance. But other actors and actresses in this movie, I'll say Zendaya was barely in this movie. She said that she only shot for 4 days. Did not seem like it was 4 days. Honestly, seems like it could have been 1 day. There was also Stellan Skarsgård. He was barely in the movie as well. He plays the main villain, but I thought his acting was good for the parts that he was in. Dave Bautista was actually really good. Again, limited time. Oscar Isaac Don't want to spoil anything with his character. Absolutely phenomenal character. I love Duke Leto's character, and I hope we get to see him more in some form in part 2. Jason Momoa has to be my favorite side character other than Rebecca Ferguson, just because his connection with Paul Atreides is just so great. And overall, I just thought that dynamic worked really, really well on screen. It was serious, heartfelt, but there were also really great comedic moments. And overall, I just thought that the dynamic worked the best. Even between Rebecca Ferguson and Timothée Chalamet, their chemistry just wasn't as good as Jason Momoa and Timothée Chalamet. Other than that, I don't really have too much to say about the characters. I did think that a lot of these characters were one-sided other than Rebecca Ferguson's character, which is why I really like her a lot. You have Rebecca Ferguson's character's backstory, how she married into the Atreides family, all of her issues on her side, as well as obviously all the issues going into this kingdom of House Atreides. Speaking about these houses and kingdoms, the politics in this movie are absolutely phenomenally done. Again, this movie is very dialogue heavy. A lot of people won't like that, but I personally do. I thought this movie perfectly executed the politics side of things, just the world building. And again, this is only one half of the story. Imagine they spent all this time setting up this massive universe in this movie. Imagine what they can do with 2 hours and 35 minutes that this movie was in the next one without having to set stuff up. We already have a world set in stone. Now all you can do is build upon that world with 2 to 3 dimensional characters. In this movie, we only had like 1 3-dimensional character. All the other ones stuff felt like 1 dimension, 2 dimension. But the next movie, this part 2, can have so much more, and it's just opened so much more because of honestly how much this movie sacrificed when it came to runtime and just explaining stuff. But overall, I thought the explanations were actually great. They did great examples with flashbacks, also future flashes, I guess you could. I don't know what it's called, but where Paul sees the future, his dreams, his visions, and it feels like we get a peek into part 2, kind of, and it got me really excited because when I left the theater, I was trying to run back all of the moments where Paul was seeing into the future. And I was kind of trying to compile it, and I was trying to figure out what actually happens. And they gave us just enough to keep me intrigued, but I still had no clue what's going on. And again, that's why I'm actually really happy I haven't read the book yet, because I thought that this viewing experience was just so great. I don't want part 2 spoiled for me, so I'm not going to read the part that is part 2 in the novel. That's basically all I have to say for this spoiler-free review. Again, expect a spoiler review this upcoming weekend with Brentley right out of the theater after I do my second watch. Nevertheless, guys, I thought Dune was an absolute spectacle. Even though this is only one half of a story, we got so much content, and though we didn't get any major completed character arcs, they were building the foundation for this world and the foundation for all of these characters for the next movie to come. And I think the next one will be absolutely stunning, beautiful, perfect, even better than this one. Overall, I'd give Dune Part 1 a solid 8.5 out of 10. Now, this is my official score, but it will probably change. I'm expecting it to go up to a 9 out of 10 during my second watch, so stay tuned for that spoiler-free review. If you guys enjoyed this video, make sure to drop a like ring down below, subscribe to the channel if you're new in here. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see you next time. Peace.